Tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
Standing up for each other, a new bystander awareness campaign is underway to reduce violence at transit stations.
The campaign it talks about the inner voice people have. We all have a kind of a little voice inside of us that tells us, maybe calls on us to do something when we see something happening.
And things that go bump in the road, the city tackles the annual Spring Pothole Challenge.
Making sure that we're doing a proactive approach. So when we do go out to repair potholes that are on the streets, we're making sure we're picking up any other repairs in those areas, even if there isn't a 311 notification.
Plus, a program that's hoping to help students through the power of mentorship.
You don't have to be a superhuman or have some amazingly fruitful background that makes you an adequate mentor or role model in someone's life.
NewsWatch starts now.
Good evening. While finding a job is often no easy feat, unemployment rates in Canada continue to rise.
Yeah, exactly. Employers and job seekers are struggling, and there's no telling when the rate will decrease. Our Nadia Curl joins us live from the NAIT campus with more on that story. Nadia?
Thanks, guys. The Canadian economy added 35,000 jobs in March, but the unemployment rate doesn't show much for it. Not only are people finding it hard to get a job right now, but employers have expressed difficulty in finding people that fit the jobs they're in demand of. And depending on the city, it only gets harder.
While it seems like finding a job gets harder as the years go on, the unemployment rate in Canada has reached an almost all-time high since the 1970s.
So it's been like a little bit tricky, yeah, I will say. There's not that many clinics in my hometown where I'm applying, and also it makes it hard when they're like not hiring, like most people are already full completely, so it is hard to find people.
While people like Maya are finding it hard due to lack of jobs available, a big reason for the unemployment rate being as high as it is that employers aren't finding people adequate for the jobs.
So employers are looking for talent. On the flip side though, there's a skills gap. So there's not enough job seekers in the market. So we have the two kind of groups we're working with, job seekers and employers. From a job seeker standpoint, you're trying to understand what the in-demand skill sets are and how do you get those in-demand skill sets and get a job. From an employer standpoint, it is how do you create a strategy to attract top talent but also retain top talent.
Because of the lack of talent in job seekers, employment agencies like Manpower Group are struggling to match people with the right jobs, even with the large amount of jobs available on the market.
We're trying to help employers right now because it is a job seeker market in a lot of ways, but employers, we're trying to move them from a consumer of talent to a creator of talent. So what I mean by that is there are all these in-demand skill sets with not enough people to fill those.
Another factor that comes into play here is COVID, which Ahmed says the unemployment rate continues to have lasting effects from.
Because of the lack of skills employers are finding in their applicants, some are even calling this a talent crisis.
I'm curious, Nadia, what are the unemployment rates right now?
According to Ahmed, it is currently at 5.7% in Alberta, with all of Canada being at a 5%. And when looking at individual cities, we have Edmonton at 5.4%, with Calgary taking first place with the highest unemployment rate right now in the province at a whopping 6.6%.
Well, what do you suggest people do if they're struggling to get a job right now, Nadia?
Ahmed suggests that even though it might be a bit impractical or a bit of a hassle, it is extremely important that you make sure you have the right assets and skills for jobs that you're applying to. Whether this means you need more certification or you need to take some classes, education is a big help in presenting yourself as qualified to employers.
Thanks, Nadia. That was Nadia Curl reporting live from the NAIT campus.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
According to a recent study, 1 in 5 office buildings in downtown Edmonton are sitting empty. With an increasing population in our city, more and more people find themselves in need of housing. Converting office buildings into apartments is nothing new. This building, called the 10, used to accommodate cubicles, boardrooms, and offices. Now, it serves over 6 floors of lofts and apartments like these. According to one city councillor, not only does this benefit residents, it also benefits owners of office buildings.
And if that can help incent somebody and put them sort of over the edge of saying, now I can afford to do this because I don't have to start paying the uplift in property taxes, for the first couple of years while my building is empty, why not? To me, that feels like a win-win.
According to the real estate firm CBRE, Edmonton has the highest office building vacancy in the country, currently sitting at about 23% of office buildings downtown. Experts say this is due to a hybrid work schedule becoming more popular.
The City of Edmonton has released a new bystander awareness campaign for transit services, focusing on giving bystanders and transit users ways to intervene in possible acts of violence in public transit. One Strong Voice is a new campaign that aims to reduce gender-based violence and harassment in transit and public spaces. The campaign details 6 actions that a bystander can take. If you feel safe to intervene, then you can be direct, de-escalate, or distract any initiator of harassment. However, if you don't feel safe, then you can delay, document the situation, or delegate help with other people.
Our main focus is to raise awareness so that bystanders have those tools available for them. This is something we've heard from our transit riders and from Edmontonians that they would like to see a bystander campaign. So providing the information so people are equipped with knowledge.
Edmonton Transit Service advises that you call 311 or approach a transit officer if you feel that your safety is threatened in public transit.
As we go deeper into spring, the receding snow gives way to new potholes that have formed during the winter. But the City of Edmonton says it's making progress to reduce the number of bumps on the road. The City of Edmonton has announced that they have been using a proactive approach when it comes to fixing potholes in the city, basing these factors on road type and traffic volume, the size and severity of the pothole, and the location of the roadway. With this approach, the city has managed to fix over 29,884 potholes this year.
So the idea of a proactive approach is getting to them before they become problematic and before they're problematic for citizens of Edmonton. So if we're filling them smaller, they're done at a smaller size and they're not as big, meaning that the crews don't have to go out to sites as frequently, and then they can approach it in terms of being able to repair them while they're on site instead of having to come back again.
The City of Edmonton is asking anyone that sees a pothole on the road to report it by calling 311 or by going to edmonton.ca/potholes.
Potholes aren't the only thing the City of Edmonton are working on. The city is making sure that the roads look pretty for the new season.
Spring is here, and Spring Sweep will start on April 11th this year.
The City of Edmonton has officially started their citywide street sweeping, clearing out dust and debris from roads, bike lanes, and major pathways. Residents and business owners will be asked to remove their driveway ramps from the curb in order to help with this process, and a no parking sign will be placed on streets in which street sweeping is occurring.
So we're working on getting people to move because Spring Sweep is a benefit for all. So if you move your vehicle off it, we can get the road clean, which means you don't have a pile of dirt outside of your house for the time. So we're hoping people acknowledge that and make it a priority for themselves in order to get the streets overall clean.
Street sweeping will be happening from Monday to Friday, 24 hours a day, and it's expected to be finished by June 1st.
It's no secret many industries struggled during the pandemic, but one felt it more than others: mentorships. With programs such as Big Brother and Sister Canada having had success in the past, one program is trying to entice Albertans to mentor others. The Alberta Mentoring Partnership, a mentoring resource for organizations in Alberta, launched its Mirror Mirror campaign on Tuesday, installing mirrors such as these in Kingsway Mall and others across the province. According to the organizers, mirrors were chosen as a symbol as anyone can be a mentor. In the future, Sarah Chan hopes to also include post-secondaries such as NAIT in these campaigns, as all parties could benefit from the partnership.
They are things you learn by connecting with people. So I think mentorship for post-secondary students is critical, both as a mentor and as a mentee.
Say this initiative will help thousands of children get help. The Alberta Mentoring Program is also planning another campaign for back to school in September.
Coming up after the break, as a student, would you get rid of all final exams and go with a big project to wrap up your semester?
I don't know, but that is our question of the week, just ahead after a short break. And then after that, we'll take a look at sports this week.
I'm Aiden Gannam, your sports host. This week, we'll take a trip down across the Rockies over to Simon Fraser University, where their football team has folded permanently. After that, we'll head over to Northlands and talk to head coach of the Edmonton Stingers, Jordan Baker, about their new signing of a player with quite a bit of pedigree. All that and more coming up next on NAIT NewsWatch Sports.
I'm Kira Brott, and this week coming up in weather, we ditched the jackets because spring has officially sprung. While there might be a slight chance of showers this weekend, it is to be a pretty sunny weekend. All that and more coming up in weather on NAIT NewsWatch.
Caleb, are you looking forward to getting outside this weekend now that it's spring outside?
Honestly, Roy, I am. But I just hope that these colder, windy days are behind us for the start of the Oilers' playoff push. Hopefully, our own Kira Brott can give us some good news.
Well, guys, spring is officially here. It looks like with the colder air up in the atmosphere, it's going to move a little off to the north this Saturday, with the warmer air moving in. With what meteorologists call an upper ridge, there's going to be a bubble of warmer air up in the sky, which typically limits cloud development and showers. It's going to be pretty sunny for the weekend ahead, just in time for patio season, and it's going to be pretty nice as well for the whole province. Moving over in Calgary, we're going to start with the high of 13 and a low of -2 on Saturday. And on Sunday, it's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 15 and a low of +1. Over in Jasper on Saturday, it's going to be mostly a high of 10 and a low of -6 with a chance of rain. And on Sunday, it's going to be mostly cloudy with a high of 12 and a low of -3. So not as warm, but it's pretty good still for ski conditions. Moving over to Fort McMurray, it's going to be a high of 13 and a low of 0 with a 30% chance of rain on Saturday. And on Sunday, partly cloudy with a high of 15 and a low of +1. And finally, here in Edmonton, it's going to be on Saturday, mainly sunny with a high of 16 and a low of 2. And on Sunday, it's going to be a high of 18 with a low of 4. Moving on to the averages of Edmonton's high is 11, and for the lows, it's 0. And for the record averages, in 1926, the high was 26, and in 1935, the low was -20. Overall, it's going to be a pretty nice weekend. I've been Kira Brott for your NAIT NewsWatch weather.
NewsWatch weather sponsored by NR92, the station for the students.
It's time for Question of the Week, and once again, we're partnered up with the NAIT Nugget to hear your voices and the issues that affect you.
That's right, Caleb, and voicing your thoughts could win you a prize. Last week's question asked if there had been a change in the parking enforcement at NAIT, and what are your thoughts about it?
Congrats to last week's winner, _Peyton Smith _. They said, it sucks as a student athlete who is required to be at school for extra hours for practice, workouts, meetings, and other things, and we don't even get a break on paying for parking. Congrats _Peyton Smith _.
This week's question is about final exams. As a NAIT student, do you prefer traditional final exam or a final practical project that is more heavily weighted for a final assignment? You can submit your response to the NAIT Nugget's Instagram page at the NAIT Nugget by leaving a comment on the Question of the Week post. The Nugget then picks a random winner for next week's extra show.
Roy, did you hear about the absolute slam dunk of a signing that the Stingers recently made?
No, I haven't had the chance. I've been busy coming up with news stories all week.
Well, lucky for us, our own Aiden Gannam has been paying close attention to it. Aiden?
Thanks, guys. The Edmonton Stingers are looking to bounce back after a less than ideal season last year by signing former Division I athlete Jermaine Haley, sparking a fire in a team that desperately needs one.
Working on February. Nice touch along the left side.
The Edmonton Stingers finished last season 6th in the CEBL, which was a disappointing year for the team as they were champions of the league in 2020 and 2021. So naturally, the focus of the team this year is to get back to the top. Haley, 25, played this previous season in the NBA G League, one step underneath the NBA. Unhappy with his playing time, he decided to come back to his home nation in order to hone his
versatility is going to be very important, especially at the start of the year when we may not have our full roster. I think he's going to be able to make an impact regardless of who's around him, just because he's able to play multiple positions for us.
Haley is expected to make a big impact. You can see him and the Stingers play May 27th. With soccer being the world's game, it's not a surprise that many people rally behind their nations once the World Cup comes around. But Edmonton doesn't want people to wait 4 years to cheer on their nation, so they provide a mini game. Our Mohammed Jama has more on the Mini World Cup.
Imagine a packed crowd cheering you on as you represent the country of your heritage in the World's Game. Well, that's the opportunity many players get every year at the Mini World Cup, and this year is no different.
I think it's like an amazing feeling to represent my community. My parents immigrated here from India, and seeing them all up in the crowd, everybody supporting us, I think was a big deal. And
the men's final was an intense game where both teams had their chances, a bunch of back and forths, where Scotland opened the scoring and India answered. It would continue to be a seesaw affair, with the game coming down to penalty kicks, where India would prevail and become champions.
Amazing. I mean, the game's had its ups and downs. They went up first early on. We came back, they tied it up, and just amazing. The emotions were all over the place.
A tournament that brings people together from all cultures and lets them cheer on their nation as they fight to raise the illustrious Mini World Cup trophy that they have been fighting for over 2 weeks.
Their amazing men's final here at the Mini World Cup, where India and Scotland tied at the end of regulation 4-4, and India won in penalty shootouts. It was an absolutely amazing game. For NAIT NewsWatch, it has been Mohammed Jama.
Amateur football fans are shocked as Simon Fraser University announces that they'll be closing their football program's operations effective immediately. This has players and coaches distraught.
Turn up!
SFU was the first and only Canadian team to ever compete in the NCAA, so when it was announced that the school would no longer play, it marked the end of an era. In 2021, SFU joined the Division II Lone Star Conference, playing against teams all the way in Texas. The conference announced in January that they would not renew their contract with SFU, leaving them without a place to play. This was a shock to players who were preparing for the upcoming season.
Bit of a blow, like blindside. I was expecting, even if we folded the program, that we'd be playing this upcoming year, but that wasn't the case.
Although the team has folded, Lepin is hopeful that SFU will find a new league to play in. I don't know about you guys, but SFU leaving the NCAA is awful. I mean, they were the only team that represented Canada.
Oh, I know, and well, I mean, hey, at least we can look forward to maybe the Stingers having a successful year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Jermaine in action. Thanks, Aiden. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at Jazz Appreciation Month and hit the lights for a high-def experience at the TELUS World of Science.
But first, our Try This reporter visits a local fencing club to take a jab at learning the basics of saber fencing.
It teaches a lot of things. It teaches respect. Because you have to always respect your opponent, the referees, your coach.
I'm Adrian St. Onge from NAIT NewsWatch, and this week for entertainment, we go to the YardBird to celebrate Jazz Appreciation Month. And then we head on over to the TELUS World of Science to go through space and time with one of rock's most psychedelic acts. Stick around.
NewsWatch music provided by Martin Mayer Productions.
Outdoor apparel brought to you by the Don Mazinkowski Scholarship Foundation.
Roy, have you ever dueled before?
No, I'm a nice person, Caleb, and honestly, I don't fight with people, and honestly, that just seems so dangerous.
Well, did you know that there's actually a friendly way to duel someone without being enemies and without getting hurt? Our Shania Fausto is going to show us the ins and outs of fencing.
Thanks guys, today I'm at Sergey's Saber Club to see if I have any talent in fencing. Let's go in. The sport that was previously done to settle disputes back in the 19th century is turned into a friendly competitive sport that people can try.
It teaches a lot of things. It teaches respect. Because you have to always respect your opponent, the referees, your coach. You use your mind a lot. So they compare it to like physical chess. The other thing is there's 3 weapons. So like chances are you can find one that's going to be suited to your style. And it's a great way to be active.
But before we raise our swords, let's learn a couple of things about fencing. Fencing has 3 disciplines: the foil, épée, and saber. The foil is the lightest sword of the three weapons, however the épée is a bit sturdier than the foil. It is also the slowest event out of the three. Lastly, the fastest event, the saber. Saber fencers can attack on any part of the upper body, and it is also the fastest sport in the Olympics after rifle shooting.
All of the technical terms, it's communicated in French, so you'll be learning the commands which are from your referee, which will be en garde, prêt, aller, halt, and then the actual terms for some of the actions, which are typically also in French.
Today we'll be learning how to fence saber. But first, let's learn the basics. Coach Andrew taught me the right stance, how to properly hold the sword, how to move forward and backward, and a couple of ways on how to score a point. After hitting my coach on the head multiple times, it's time to put on the uniform. I definitely feel like a real fencer once I put on the full gear. Although I still didn't perfect some of the moves, Coach Andrew let me try a couple more times until I get the groove on it. I definitely need more lessons to master the art of fencing. This is Shania Fausto for NAIT NewsWatch.
Caleb, are you planning on going to any music festivals this year?
Maybe, if I can get around to it. Maybe I'll go to Folk Fest in August. Our Adrian St. Onge has more on what the music scene looks like in entertainment this week.
Thanks, guys. To paraphrase the jazz legend Duke Ellington, this week is all music. Originating as a form of protest music, jazz has been around since the early 1920s and has influenced acts across all genres of music. Known for its constantly evolving sound as it blends genres together, jazz music can still be heard in acts today such as Led Zeppelin, James Brown, and even newer artists like Leon Bridges. The YardBird Suite is kicking off Jazz Appreciation Month with local and international performers. Mallory Chipman hosted this week's Tuesday Jam session, and with acts such as nationally acclaimed pianist Dave Restivo and Juno Award-winning guitarist Mike Rudd making appearances later this month, it's bringing out fans, both new and old.
Jazz to me is a genre of music that has touched every contemporary Western music form there is. Yet it's something that maybe only 3 to 5% of the population identifies as being a jazz fan. And part of our YardBird mission is to change that. I guarantee everyone likes jazz, you just got to give it a chance.
Tickets for performers are $5, non-performers are $10, but there is a free entry for premium members. A rock classic is celebrating their 50th anniversary in a fashion that what some would say is out of this world. Known for their psychedelic and ethereal sound, Pink Floyd released Dark Side of the Moon in 1973 to critical and commercial acclaim. When Pink Floyd released their planetarium-required show, the Telus World of Science signed up and are currently the only ones airing the 10K video in the country.
Well, I think for the planetarium, this is actually the one-off. We haven't actually seen bands actually reach out to planetariums like this before to actually do something like this. In fact, this is a bit reminiscent of like the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, you know, the animated thing they did back in the 60s again, and with a totally different twist and with this immersive videos.
Tickets cost $19.73 to commemorate the album release year, and the show will be available starting April 29th and runs until March 2024. So pardon the pun, but I'm pretty jazzed about the next time we get to go to that festival. But I'm curious, what's your guys' favorite Pink Floyd song?
I gotta say, I really like Money, but it's gotta be Wish You Were Here.
Well, and for me, we actually did our music video assignment on The Great Gig in the Sky, so that would definitely have to be mine. Thanks,
Awesome.
Adrian. Or what about you, Adrian?
For myself, it's probably Comfortably Numb or Time. Love them both so much.
Honestly, I feel that, man.
Thanks, Adrian. That was Adrian St. Onge with entertainment.
And that concludes our regular formatting of NAIT NewsWatch this semester. And honestly, Caleb, what a ride it's been.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Roy. But stay tuned next week for our NAIT NewsWatch Extra Show, where we show off the features that we've been working on this semester. Most are really good, but if it weren't for Chris, Aaron, and Stu, we would all be working in call centers, living a life of desperation and coupon cutting, and not living our best lives.
It's not the end just yet for this season of NAIT NewsWatch. We'll see you all next week. But before we go black on air, we do have a couple words for our ever illustrious director.
Yeah, so this will actually be the last show ever directed by our videography teacher, Stu Sirduke, who will be retiring at the end of the month. So, on behalf of the whole team, Stu, we just wanted to say a massive thank you for teaching us, how to be professionals and doing everything. Yeah, thank you. There's nothing else to say.
Love you, Stu.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.